Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're doing a Dinowrestler deck profile. So I'm really excited to show you guys this deck because it's a very interesting dinosaur-based deck that can actually do a lot of different things, from synchro summoning to fusion summoning to even link summoning. This deck has it all, and it's actually a very budget alternative way to actually play dinosaurs because all of your Dinowrestlers were printed relatively cheaply as super rares or below, which is really awesome. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of the notification squad, and definitely check out that Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome awards like getting your name searched every single video, getting a signed card to nail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron along with test stands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing one copy of Dinowrestler Pankatops because you can only play one copy of this. This is actually it's actually the only card in the entire archetype that's on the list currently at 1 because it's such a good card. If your opponent controls more monsters than you do, then you can special summon this card from your hand, and then you only special summon this card once per turn. This way, in quick effect, you can tribute one Dinowrestler monster and then target one card your opponent controls and destroy it, which is an awesome effect in its own archetype. We then play 3 copies of Iguanodrak. Iguanodrak is actually a new card, relatively new card that we got in Dawn of Majesty, which is a fantastic card to be able to summon to your side of the field. You just have to discard another dinosaur monster to special summon this card from your hand, and then you can also tribute a dinosaur monster then target a Dinowrestler in your graveyard with a different name from its original name as a tribute monster, and then special summon it in defense position, which is an awesome effect to just give you additional monsters on your side of the field. We then play one of the other level 6 Dinowrestler monsters. This card is really good because if you control a Dinowrestler, you can also summon this card without tributing, and then during your turn, if your opponent special summons a monster while this card's in the graveyard, then you can target one level 4 or lower Dinowrestler monster in your graveyard and special summon it, then add this card to your hand, which is really good to help you go into link plays and even go into some synchro plays if you have the tuner in the graveyard. We then play 2 copies of the Stegosaurus. This card is really good too because what this card does is if this card is special summoned, you get to add a Dinowrestler monster or one other Dinowrestler, World Dino Wrestling from your deck to your hand. And then during the end phase, if this card's in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, and your opponent controls more monsters than you do, then you can target one Dinowrestler monster in your graveyard and special summon it back to your field, which is really good because you can actually summon back your synchros and your fusion monsters if you properly summon them with this card effect, which is absolutely crazy. We then play a single copy of Capitera. Capitera is really good too because if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, then you can target one monster your opponent controls and send it to the graveyard. You also effect this card once per turn, and if this card is sent to the graveyard as a link material for a link monster summon of a Dinowrestler monster, you activate the effect that the link monster used, or the link monster that's summoned with this effect gains 1,000 additional attack points, which is really good to just boost up your King T up by an additional 1,000. We then play 2 copies of the Tuner monster for Dinowrestlers. The reason I played this is because it helps me go into the copy of the Giga Dinosaur, the Dinowrestler monster, which is absolutely an insanely good card, and I really love that card in this deck. We then play 2 copies of Ultimate Conductor Tyranno. Ultimate Conductor Tyranno is a very powerful monster for any dinosaur-based deck because it's very easy to summon. You just have to banish 2 dinosaur monsters from the graveyard to special summon this card to your side of the field, and then once per turn during either player's turn, you can destroy one monster from your hand or field, and if you do, change all face-up monster opponent controls to face-down defense, and then it can attack every single face-down defense position monster, which is really cool to attack all those monsters, and it can attack every single monster your opponent controls, which at 3,500 is not going to be a big deal to deal with all of your opponent's monsters. And at the start of the damage step, if it attacks a defense position monster, it inflicts 1,000 points of damage to your opponent, and then you send that monster to the graveyard, which is a very insanely powerful effect. We then play a single copy of Miscellaneousaurus. Miscellaneousaurus is, again, one of those cards that's just good in every single kind of dinosaur deck. So you play it as a 1 of in here. So basically what this card does is you discard it from your hand to the graveyard to be able to protect your dinosaur monsters from activated effects, which is really good during that turn. And then also you can banish this card from the graveyard and other dinosaur monsters equal to the level of a dinosaur monster you're trying to special summon from the deck, and then special summon that dinosaur from the deck. So for example, if you're trying to special summon out the level 2 tuner, you just banish the copy of Miscellaneous and one other dinosaur from the graveyard to instantly special summon out that copy of the tuner, which is really good. We then play 3 copies of Soul Eating Over Oviraptor. Soul Eating Oviraptor is a very good card in this deck as well. If this card is normal or special summon, you get to take a dinosaur monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard, and then you can also target one level 4 lower dinosaur monster in your on your field and destroy it, then special summon a dinosaur monster in your graveyard in defense position, which is pretty good, but you can only use each effect of this card once per turn. This card is probably the best normal summon in every single dinosaur deck that you're ever going to play, and it is an insanely powerful card. We then play 2 copies of Baby Sarasaurus. Baby Sarasaurus is if this card is destroyed by card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can select a level 4 or lower dinosaur monster from your deck and special summon it, which is very good. 1 copy of Petite Pterodon. Petite Pterodon is a little bit worse version of the Baby Sarasaurus, because if this card is destroyed by card effect, you can special summon a level 4 or higher dinosaur monster from the deck, which is pretty good, but it can't attack this turn, which is why it's a little bit worse, because it can't attack. But it can help you get out your copy of your Pankratops, which is a good boss monster for this deck. It's not just a special summon pop card. It's actually a legit good boss monster in this deck. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom as well. The 3 copies of Ash Blossom are basically here just to stop your opponent from all their shenanigans from touching the deck. So this card just says, hey, no, you can't go into the deck. You just discard this card. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Terraforming because we have plenty of field spells that we're trying to get into this deck, so this card helps out a lot. 1 copy of Monster Reborn because it helps you revive out your cards from the graveyard, so this card's also very, very helpful. 1 copy of Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is going to send the exact dinosaur monster you need to the graveyard when you need it. 1 copy of Tyrant Tyranno Fusion. This card is, or Tyrant Dino Fusion. This card is really, really good. It lets you fusion summon a Dinowrestler monster from your extra deck using monsters you control as fusion material. If you do, the first time it would be destroyed by battle, or it is not destroyed, which is really cool. Even if it's going to be destroyed by card effect, it protects itself. So this card's really good to help you go into your Chimera fusion monster. This card is really, really, really good to help you kind of end duels. We play Double Twin Twister because this deck has a little bit of a problem dealing with back row heavy decks. So Double Twin Twister is really good. This could be Cosmic Cyclone. This could be any of the other cards that you want to. This could be Feather Duster and a Cosmic Cyclone. It's totally up to you what you play in it. It could also be a Call by the Grave and Harpy's Feather Duster if you want to go that route. We then play 2 copies of Double Evolution Pill. Double Evolution Pill is really good because it helps you special summon out your dinos from the deck. You just have to banish a dinosaur monster and a non-dinosaur monster from your hand or graveyard to special summon 1 level 7 or higher dinosaur monster from your hand or deck, ignoring its summoning conditions, which is usually going to be your Ultimate Conductor Tyranno that you're going to be summoning off of this effect, or your copy of your Pankratops. It kind of depends on the situation. We play 2 copies of Foolish Burial Goods. Foolish Burial Goods is really good in this deck because it's going to send from your deck to the graveyard your copies of your World Dino Wrestling, which we play 2 copies of. And this card is a really good card when it's in the graveyard, because what this card does is while you control a Dinowrestler monster, each player can attack only with 1 monster during each battle phase, which is pretty good if you're trying to stop yourself from getting OTK, but it's really a lot better of a card in the graveyard. Because if your Dinowrestler monster attacks an opponent's monster, it gains 200 attack during the damage calculation only. So those field effects are a little bit underwhelming. And it also has the ability that if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you can banish this card from your graveyard to special summon 1 Dinowrestler monster from your deck. Okay, that's the really good effect that you're going to be using with this card all the time. You're never going to activate this card because it's not really, really great, which is why I play the copies of the Twin Twisters, because I can deal with back row, and if I draw into this, I can also use this and combo together to be able to get me a search and pop 2 back row. We then play 3 copies of Lost World, which is arguably the better field spell in this deck, and it's a really good field spell. It basically gives you tokens on your side of the field, and all monsters on the field lose 500 attack and defense, except dinosaur monsters. And then once per turn, if a dinosaur type monster is normal or special summon, then you can special summon a Jurassic 1 Jurassic token to your opponent's side of the field. And it has a 1 star and it's 0/0. To your opponent's side of the field in defense position, and then while your opponent controls a token, they cannot target monsters on the field with attack or effects, for effects, except tokens. And then once per turn, if a normal monster on the field would be destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can destroy that many dinosaur monsters on the field or deck instead, which is pretty good because it can help you pop the Baby Sarasaurus and the copies of your Petite Pterodon for this effect to get you special summons. We then play 3 copies of Fossil Dig, because Fossil Dig is going to let you add your Dinowrestlers that you need from your deck to your hand, and it lets you add any dinosaur that's level 6 or lower from deck to hand. So this card is a no-brainer as a 3 of in this deck. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the extra decks. We don't play any traps. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of the Dinowrestler Synchro Monster, Giga. This card is really, really good. It's a really good OTK piece because it has the awesome effect to basically be able to take just one dinosaur tuner and a non-tuner. And if this card battles, your opponents cannot activate spells or traps until the end of the damage step, and your opponent's monsters cannot target monsters for attacks except this one. And then once per turn, you can target one monster your opponent controls and destroy it. And if this card would be destroyed by battle or by card effect, you destroy another card you control instead, which is really good, especially with the copies of the Baby Ceratosaurus and the Petite Pterodons. This card can really help you out a lot. We then play a single copy of Borreload Savage because you can Synchro Summon into this card pretty easily in this deck to go into some really good plays and give you additional negations. You play a single Fusion Monster, which is the single copy of the Dinowrestler Chimera T. This card's really good because it has the ability, if it battles, your opponent's monsters cannot activate, your opponent cannot activate spells or traps during the damage step. And if this card attacks the defense position monster, it inflicts piercing damage, and your opponent's monsters cannot target monsters for attack except this one. And if this card destroys a monster by battle, it gains 500 attack. And if this card is destroyed by card effect, destroy all of your opponent's attack position monsters. This card is an insanely powerful effect, and it just ends games. This card is really, really good. We then play a single copy of Evilzar Dolka. Dolka is just going to give you additional negations. One copy of Logia. Logia is also really good. When this card is normally special summon, or when a monster is normally special summoned, or when a spell trap is activated, you just detach the materials, negate the activation if you do destroy it. So this card's really good. One copy of Access Code because it gives you additional pops. One copy of the Dinowrestler T Wrestler. This card is really good too. I will say for the copy of the Access Code, it can be a copy of Borreload or Borrelsword, depending on what you feel like you want if you're trying to go a little bit more budget on this deck. But then you play the same copy of King T. King T is a pretty good card. It takes 2+ Dinowrestlers to summon it. It has the ability, if this card battles, your opponent cannot activate spells or traps until the end of the damage step, and your opponent's monsters cannot target monsters for attacks except this one. And at the start of your opponent's battle phase, you can target one attack position monster your opponent controls. This battle phase, your opponent cannot attack with other monsters until that one has. And if it does not declare an attack, destroyed at the end of the battle phase. So this card can be really hard to deal with against your opponent, which is why I play it as a one-of in this deck, but you're never going to want to summon more than one of it. We then play a single copy of the Dinowrestler Terra. This card's a really good link monster as well. It's a link 2. Has the ability that if World Dino Wrestling is activated, if you activate World Dino Wrestling, you can target a Dinowrestler monster in the graveyard and add it to your hand. And then if this card is sent to the graveyard as a link material, then you can target a Dinowrestler monster in your graveyard and special summon it in defense position, but negate its effects. And also you cannot special summon monster rest turn except for Dinowrestler monsters. And then you can only effect this card once per turn. It's a really good card in this deck as a one-of. You never needed more than one. One copy of Unicorn because it spins stuff, so this card's really good in the deck. One copy of Phoenix because it pops spells and traps. It's just additional spell and trap pops. One copy of Pentastag. Pentastag is really, really good because it's going to give your monster that it points to piercing damage, which with Ultimate Conductor Tyranno is insane, and it's just going to end the game. One copy of IP Masquerade because you can link summon during your opponent's turn. One copy of Verte Anaconda because it works with your one fusion spell that you play in this deck, so you're going to link into this card and then immediately go for that card as long as it meets the requirements to summon out your copy for your Chimera. And then a single copy of Linkuriboh because Linkuriboh helps out in the deck a lot. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really fun deck to play around with. It's a very interesting deck, and it's a budget alternative if you guys want to play dinosaurs. This is a very good version to be able to play with, and it's just a really fun deck. I really like the way that it turned out, and it's just a fun deck overall. I've been waiting on the copy of the Iguanodrak to come out to be able to actually play this deck because I wanted to be able to go into the copy of the Giga Synchro Monster, which was the reason I even wanted to build this deck. And a lot of the cards are really good in the deck, but this card is like really, really good. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can come part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.